Hello, can you hear me? Oh, yes. Great. Awesome. Hey, Kim, how are you?
Hey, I have to go get my foam roller.
Okay.
Am I your only one?
So far, you are. We have there's supposed to be, I think, 2 more, and then I put it out and asked people to register, but not everybody always registers, so
Right.
so we'll
Well,
see.
I'll feel weird if I'm your only
Yeah,
participant.
soak it up. It's okay.
All right, let me get rid of that crazy background. I was in a meeting earlier. There we go. A college meeting.
There you go. Yeah, I haven't got that fancy to go with the finding backgrounds yet and putting those up.
Oh, my favorite was May the 4th. I was in the Millennium Falcon. That was my favorite one.
That's good. That's very good.
Oh, you've got bulldog shirt.
I do. Laura's like, you're going to do your workshop and that? I was like, it's a foam rolling workshop. She goes, oh, I guess you probably don't want to be in your regular work clothes. I said, well, I could, but it's a little easier to do it in something a little more comfortable.
For sure.
I thought about going back to the...
I should see if one of my boys wants to do the foam roller. I wonder if we have another one. Let me ask.
Sure.
Hey, does anybody want to do the foam roller workshop with me? Serious? They're all lazy, and they're watching The Office.
Like are they into The Office?
Time. They love that show.
You have to catch them before it starts, right? Before they get into their...
It runs continuously. They watch it. It just rolls one episode into the next. Although they were preparing for their they did a trivia night.
Yeah.
And so Bill and I we're doing a friends trivia night on Saturday, and the other night we did one on Seinfeld, which wasn't bad. We came in 4th place. That was pretty good. It's fun. It's something to do.
Yeah, it would be for sure. Absolutely. All right.
Hey, we got somebody else. Awesome. Where are you at? Are you at home?
I am at home. I'm in the basement, yes.
Your basement is like so barren. I love that. It's clean. You can see it looks clean. Mine has furniture and stuff. It looks messy.
Yeah. Hello, Scott.
Hi, Joe.
How are you this evening?
Pretty good. How about you?
Doing well. Can you see okay? Everything looks okay?
Yeah. Just fine, thanks.
Great. All right. Well, we will, if anybody else jumps in, like I said, I think I have one more that had registered, but we might have one or two jump in who did not register, which is fine. So that's okay. So we'll get started here. Respect your time and get done, and still have some daylight out if you want to go out for a walk or anything like that. So first and foremost, if you don't know who I am, my name is Joe King. I'm the owner of Physical Therapy Advantage, and just wanted to do some different kind of workshops. We've been doing different shoulder pain, back pain, and some balance workshops for the last few years. We wanted to kind of shake it up a little bit and see what our database and our clients and former clients and the general public wanted. And one of the things that came up was a foam rolling class. So we kind of put together a foam rolling workshop, and subsequently kind of put together a 30-minute one instead of an hour one, and we'll see how this kind of goes. It's our first one, so definitely want the feedback from you guys and see how we do with it. So, and being a small group is totally great because we can tailor it to your guys' questions, your guys' wants and needs, and make it as much about you guys as we possibly can. So it's what we like to do with all our workshops, but when we have smaller groups, it's easier to do. So excellent. So I guess first and foremost, is there anything about foam rolling first that you guys have questions about it that you're looking to get answered about tonight, or if there's anything specific you're wanting to gain from coming or joining the workshop?
I just thought it was motivation to get up and move.
Get up and move. Okay, that's great.
From my perspective, yeah, I was looking for how I would use it on, say, hips and thighs.
Actually, yep, we can go over all that, and at the end, actually, what we've done is we've created a website link. We use a certain company called MedBridge Education, and we've created a website, and it'll have a link to it, an access code that anybody that joins the website or joins the workshop, tonight, will be able to have access to. It'll be basically a public access, but that's okay. And it'll have a list of all the foam rolling exercises that we do tonight, and a few others too. So it'll have a nice comprehensive kind of videos, descriptions, diagrams, and everything of the foam rolling stuff that we do tonight, like I said, and some others too. So you can have at it and enjoy it and try it, and hopefully get in a fairly good routine of it and see what it does for you guys.
Okay.
So first and foremost, there's many different types of soft tissue mobilization that we do as therapists, and especially even soft tissue mobilization that we can teach clients to do, and you can see tons of videos and everything. The one that we're going to talk about tonight, though, is specifically using instruments or mainly the foam roller or variations of the foam roller to do some soft tissue work, to try to loosen up muscles and gain some lengthening on that. So, but like I said, you can use a foam roller if you haven't ever used one or purchased one. They typically look something, they're cylinder. 6 inches is the normal, and roughly typically 3 feet are long. They can be half as long, they can go down to 4 inches, they can go 2 inches, they can get as big as, I've seen as big as 8 to 10 inches, but typically the average size one is a 6-inch diameter length is 3 feet. So, and you get varying widths or varying densities, I should say, of it, from a really hard one that has maybe even a PVC plastic tube inside of it to the typical standard one that came out many years ago. It seems pretty hard to start with, but it actually loosens up over time. It's an open cell foam, but that's okay too. So it doesn't matter what you use, it's whatever feels comfortable to you. Other objects you can use is a rolling pin at home. So if you happen to have a rolling pin, you don't have to go buy fancy things. Something very similar that's out there is called the stick, but you don't have to do that. You can use this rolling pin as long as your wife, if you're a guy, as long as your wife allows you to do that and put it back nice and clean. You can also use soup cans. They work as well. So you can do that. Tennis balls work, lacrosse balls, yoga balls, racket balls, a little softer to start with. Sometimes we use golf balls or super balls, depending if you want some gription. So you can use a variety of things. And sometimes what works well for the neck, and I'll show you guys or later on, is putting 2 tennis balls into a sock that you can do some work on your spine, and especially in your upper spine, and then work around your shoulder blade area. That works pretty well. So we're putting 2 tennis balls in a clean sock, preferably not a dirty one as well. So, and also have to be, with all tennis balls or all balls, you have to make sure, especially if you have dogs that like to play with those tennis balls and stuff like that, you find clean ones and not slobbery ones, or keep them locked up. And then there's other things that are out there too that a little more specific, that there are things that are out there. This is like a modified, what we call a TheraCane, therapeutic cane, that you can actually get in there and do some work on. Not quite like a foam roller where you're moving back and forth, but it's definitely something where you can get in and find those, after you've been using the foam roller, and you find those specific knots that you may have after you've loosened them up a little bit, warmed them up with the foam roller. You can go in and actually work on it, hit a certain spot on your leg, on a calf. It's easier to reach with that TheraCane into a knot versus down. So I can show you a few different things like that later on as well.
That's awesome.
Plenty of devices. There's no right or wrong. It's what you feel comfortable with when you're using them. That's all the most important part of it is. All right. So one of the big questions that we get is, why do you foam roll? You know, what is the reasoning for foam rolling? Because most people say when they try to foam roll, it hurts. And they think that that's what people should just be feeling, is, I do it because it makes me hurt and that's supposed to make me feel better. Well, that's really not the emphasis that we're looking for. But some of the main reasons that you want to do a foam roller or use a foam roller and do some soft tissue work is we want to lengthen the tissue bellies, the muscle tissue. So we want to elongate those tight muscles that are supposed to elongate and contract over one another. They've been in a knotted up position for a long time, and now we want to basically elongate them and lengthen those tissues back out to their normal resting length. So that's one of the main reasons we do it. We want to help facilitate muscles. So in that same light, when they're in this position, they don't function very well together. So we want to lengthen them out, get them in the right position, and then also want to get them to be able to contract like they're supposed to and slide over one another, so you actually are able to recruit the muscles like they're supposed to. So when they're knotted up, they don't get recruited like they should, and thus you're going to be weaker and not use them like you're supposed to. We help realign them. So especially if they've been damaged, then you want to make sure that we help get a realignment. So they may not be just slid over one another. There might be some actual angled in there, some scar tissue that might be even in there. So we want to actually realign them so to get them in the right position. So not only just lengthen them, but actually truly realign them in there as well. And then finally, one of the big things that you'll see right away, or typically you'll see, is we increase blood flow with it. So we want to warm the tissue up. And we'll go into later on when we foam roll why you would want to increase that blood flow. You definitely can see an increased blood flow. Your tissue will loosen up. You'll feel a lot looser instantaneously, especially in the cold mornings. You foam roll first. It feels pretty darn good. So that's another reason why we'll do that. So the next big question people say is, how do you foam roll? You know, what is it about it? Is there certain techniques, certain things? Well, my professional opinion on that is, once again, we abide by the no pain, no gain theory. So if you're creating pain when you're doing it, it's probably a little too hard. If you're creating pain when you're doing exercises, it's too much. If you're creating pain when you're stretching, you shouldn't be doing that. So if you're truly creating pain and gone past that pain threshold, that's not a good thing at all. So foam rolling might be uncomfortable, that's for sure. And it sure can be very uncomfortable, but it really shouldn't be painful, because if it's pain, then something bad's gonna happen and you're gonna start to take steps backwards, and you're gonna actually start the inflammatory response and just kind of go back and forth like a roller coaster. And we don't want that, or up and down like a roller coaster. So that's not what we're looking for either. So typically when you want to foam roll, and people ask, how long should I foam roll? Besides, how do I foam roll? How long? You can go as minimum as a minute, maybe up to 3 minutes per body segment that you're working on. So as you're working a leg, or say you're going to roll out the top of your thighs, your quadriceps, you do maybe 1 to 3 minutes on each side, or maybe a total of, if you're going to do them both together, you're going to do them totally for 3 minutes. that works pretty well. And that you should be able to get anywhere from maybe 5 to 15 to 20 repetitions during that time frame if you're going nice and slow and easy. And that's a good amount of repetitions to really loosen up the muscle tissue and get things warmed up.
Mhm.
All right. Any questions so far about some of the foam rolling? We're going to get a little more specifics and get into some demonstration here in a second, but any questions about it?
I'm
No?
good.
Sounds good so far.
All right. So just a quick question kind of to ask. I mean, have you guys, either one, Scott, Kim, have you guys used the foam roller in the past with success, with not success, or with pain and decided not to do it anymore after that?
I
Well,
use it
I
to
love
stretch
it.
my,
Go ahead,
if I'm
Scott.
on top of it, I'll lay on top of it and spread my arms out to stretch my shoulders.
Okay. So you use it mainly just on the upper body for the shoulders, not so much for legs or any other plot.
Not yet, no.
Okay. All right. And have you felt like, have you been doing it for a longer time on your arms or just more recently?
I've been doing it probably maybe 2 weeks before I started with therapy.
Okay. All right. Have you
I
noticed?
took some time off and went with the door stretches, but that seems to really hurt my elbows, so I went back to using the foam roller instead.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. How about you, Kim?
The only thing I don't like it for is like rolling out the lateral thigh. I hate that. It hurts. But mostly I use it for just like self-massage kind of stuff.
Okay.
Mhm.
Where you're lying and putting your body weight on it, or you're actually rolling it on top of your muscles typically?
I've done both.
Okay.
Mhm. Both.
All right. And that's the thing about it. You can either put your body weight on it or a graded amount of your body weight. You don't have to put your full body weight on it. And I'll show you kind of how to do that with your opposite arm, opposite legs, hips and things. Or you could actually just use it as a big rolling pin. Like I showed you with the small rolling pin, you can just use it as a rolling pin or have someone in the family, as long as you trust them, and use it as a rolling pin and work those muscles out for you as well. So it can be done that way. So it's a nice tool. It can be adaptable. All right. So the big thing about rolling it, and if you have an injured area, so if you have say it's your calf that you're looking at, which is a little difficult sometimes to get to, but what body parts do you roll, where do you roll, and everything else? You want to roll mainly the meat, the muscle tissue around it. You don't want to roll and go over any bony prominences, because those bony prominences are going to be very tender and irritable and everything else. So typically you're just going to go roll over the meat of it, and then you want to roll typically the muscles and tendons that are above the area that you're wanting to and sometimes below it and to the sides. So you want to get all the way around it as much as you possibly can. And more times than not, doesn't have to be always, but typically you want to roll lengthwise if you possibly can. So you're going with the muscle fibers. You can go against the fibers at times too. Sometimes people like that. It feels better to them, and they think that it may be a little uncomfortable to them, but they know that it feels good after the fact and they've experimented with it. And that's okay too. The big thing again, is that you have to just know your body and listen to your body. And more importantly, we don't want to really create a lot of pain with it. So if you have some pressure on it and you're going across the muscle fibers, that's okay. But typically going lengthwise with the muscle fibers is ideal. And that's going to help get the maximum blood flow, tissue realignment, facilitation, and everything else that we're looking for.
Great.
So, but like I said, especially when you're doing on knees or hips and things like that, it's just, you definitely want to stay away from those bony prominences on the outside part of the hip, or the knee, or even the kneecap itself. Ankles, not so fun either, that they can be very, very painful. Or even if you're trying to do your triceps and you get onto that bony part of the elbow, either right on the elbow or on the sides, it can be very painful as well. So just try to avoid that if at all possible. If you've ever put it along your back, you kind of figure that out too. Once they hit the spine, it doesn't feel real comfortable sometimes. So, all right. The next thing is, like I said before, one of the questions that we get asked a great deal is, when do you do it? So foam rolling typically is done either before you exercise or after you exercise. Is there a right or a wrong? No, there's no right or wrong. If you typically do it before your exercise, you're using it to warm things up. You'll increase that blood flow, which happens all the time. You're going to help lengthen the tissue out by warming it up and stretching it out. Because typically sometimes you'll start to loosen the muscles, you start to use it, it starts to stretch out. And we're going to help facilitate the muscles to get them to work appropriately for whatever exercise you're doing, going for a walk, going for a run, a bike ride, whatever you may be doing, whatever workout. So you're kind of getting those benefits of it if you do it before you work out.
Mm-hmm.
There's no major research out there, but the thought process is that it helps decrease the risk of injury. I can't say that it does. I believe that it does, but I have nothing to back that up for sure. There's not been any major research to prove that, but it's one of the things that I do feel that it helps warm tissue up, helps you stretch out, and you will have a much better workout session or do whatever activity you want to do easier with less chance of injury. Or if you do it afterwards, which is fine too, you're still going to get the increased blood flow as you normally would. But a lot of time there, you're helping realign that tissue because you're stretching afterwards, after your workout, and you're going to realign that tissue a little bit more, lengthen and realign. So you're not going to get as much facilitation because you're not using as much, but you're going to get more realignment success there. So it depends on what you're maybe looking for. You can try it, experiment. What do you like before or after? Like I said, there's no right or wrong, kind of whatever works in your schedule. The big thing, that's probably the biggest thing, whatever works in your schedule and whatever you like the best and feel one, and as long as you're consistent with it. And if you do it sometimes before and sometimes after, is that bad? I don't think so. I think you're consistently doing it, and that's the most important part. So consistency is the key for everything, doing your exercises, doing your stretches, doing the foam rolling, being consistent, watching your posture, your technique, and everything else. Those are the most important things that you can be aware of and do. And those are the things that are going to lead to having success for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else? Any questions or anything?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it's going to be difficult to think about good posture when you're doing foam rolling because we're in some weird positions, but you still may want to try to think about a good head position. But overall, technique is important. Going slow and control is important. Putting only what body weight you feel is comfortable. But after you foam roll, when you go work out, when you go do things, you still want to think about, okay, I need to be in good posture. I need to recruit the muscles I'm supposed to recruit if I'm stabilizing with my abdominals area. I'm thinking about being in an upright position. I'm recruiting the muscles I'm supposed to recruit. I'm trying to break maybe some old bad habitual patterns and try to start a new pattern. So all those things have to be played in with it. I can foam roll and do all that good stuff, but if I'm not thinking about posture, if I'm not thinking about recruiting the right muscles, if I'm not thinking about breaking these old habits and doing the things I'm supposed to be doing, you're going to have some success, but the success won't come as quickly as if you are implementing all those things. So it's a lot to ask, I know, but you will have the most success if you do it that way. All right. So, what body part do you want to work on first? Kim, what foam rolling technique, what body part do you want to try first?
Oh, let Scott go first. I can be creative.
What lower body part do you want to work on first, Scott?
Anything around the hips, either hips, quads, hamstrings, any of those.
Okay.
Sounds
right.
good. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring you guys slightly forward here. I'm going to put my camera a little bit down because I'm going to get on the floor here, and hopefully you guys can see me.
Oh, you've got like a whole workout area there.
That's partly why it's kind of clean and kind of picked up. So yes. All right. Let's see here. So one of the best ways to do it, let's go out this way. There we go. I go the opposite direction, is going onto your stomach. And if you want to do the top of your thighs, your quads, it's fairly easy. So you're kind of stopping right before your hips in the front. And then you just kind of walk it yourself up. to right before the kneecaps. And if you want, you can walk yourself if you want, or if you want to keep your arms out in front of you, and you can kind of just go in and out, and you kind of pull yourself with your arms, as long as your shoulders are okay with that.
Oh my.
And then some variation is that you can spread your feet apart, your legs apart, I should say, and roll your feet to the outside. And that kind of hits the inside part of your thighs a little bit more.
Oh.
They may be definitely more tender because that's an area that we normally don't bang up against chairs and stuff. And then if you want to kind of bring your legs a little closer together and rotate your feet inward, and so almost like they cross, and that will hit a little bit more on top and the outside part of your quad. So if the quads are definitely a tight area for you and you want to emphasize a little more, you can do, say, 10 to 15 repetitions with your feet straight, 10 to 15 repetitions with your feet wide or your legs wider apart and your legs rotated out, and then 10 or 15 with your legs closer together, almost touching, and then rotate your feet inward and cross your feet and do them the outside part. And you'll feel the bumps and the knots. Now when you do that too, and I'm going to show you from the front here, if you wanted to do just one leg at a time, if that was too much pressure for it and too much pressure on your legs, you can always just do one leg at a time. You can put your opposite leg out. And so you're not only putting weight you feel comfortable, excuse me, I can't speak after dinner, that you can do. And that's okay too.
Great.
Then if you wanted to go up a little higher, I'm going to kind of show you here, that almost into what we call your hip flexor region, so part of your waist, is that you'll feel that for the bone in the front here.
Hey, son, can you go get my yoga mat out of my bedroom?
And then you're going to angle the foam roller like that. So this is what you'll basically have done. So you have it in this position.
By the TV on the other side of the dresser.
And then you can just lay down.
Oh,
back up here.
You're killer.
Kind of go at an angle here for you. So then you can be in this position, having your one leg on it. I have my left leg on it. My right leg is out to the side. And once again, you're just isolating higher up, and you have it at an angle. So this is at an angle. It's not straight up and down.
Okay.
And you're able to get that upper part of your quad into your lower part of your hip flexor region, which is typically tight for a lot of people, especially those that sit a lot during the day. So that typically works really, really well. Of course, as Kim alluded to, there's the famous IT band one. That is typically, it's the most brutal one and uncomfortable one. And like I said, you don't want to do anything down and get into that knee region. And of course, you'll know where the bony part of your hip is when you get to it. You may not feel it right away, but you'll know when you get to it, when the foam roller hits it. But you're just doing the meat between it. And the big part is using your opposite leg to unweight yourself and actually push your hip up. So you only put as much weight as you feel comfortable. You're putting more weight on that down arm, as long as it feels okay to do so. And then you're just kind of walking. And then you can use your opposite arm too, your top arm, to unload as well, and only put what weight you feel comfortable on it. And if you only want to do a small section, because it's easier, and it's easier to unweight yourself. And then after you do a little bit there, and then you go down to the next section, that's okay too. You don't have to do the whole length. You don't have to go up and down. You'll see people do this all the time, which is okay if you want to. Or like I said, if you want to just do a smaller section because it's easier to unweight and it feels more comfortable, and that is absolutely fine to do so. There's no law against it. I don't think the foam rolling police is going to come find you and give you a ticket. All right. And then we can do the hamstrings, and you can kind of even do the butt at the same time. So you're almost sitting on the foam roller. You can get your butt on it, and you can kind of just go back and forth. It's not the most ideal thing for your butt in this position, but you can be efficient and you can get both. It's a general one for your rear end. And then the tough part for this one is getting down. So if using your hands in the back here, I'll show you. So putting your hands down on the floor, some people like to put their fists, some people use weights, dumbbells to hold on to elevate them. People use yoga blocks. And I didn't bring one up with me, but I'm gonna bring a dumbbell here. So you can use a dumbbell and hold it down, and it just gives you a little bit more elevation as you're then going in and out. On your hamstrings. And the same rules for your hamstring apply that you apply to your quadriceps. You can spread your legs out and rotate your feet out and get the outside part of it a little more. And you can rotate in and get the inside part a little bit more. It's up to you. Or you can just keep your feet straight and just do it right down the center. Whatever feels better to you and what you like. Like I said, there's no really right or wrong there, as long as it's not really, really hurting you. And then you can go down and do your calves at the same time. So you can and here, same thing, rotate your feet out. Or rotate your feet in, or if you wanted to do just one leg at a time, which I think is actually easier, takes a lot longer because you have to take more time, obviously, to do it, but it's a lot easier to go in and out, less stress on your shoulders and arms. And my calves have more knots in them than my hamstrings do, so it's a lot more uncomfortable when I do both at the same time. So I like to do my calf, and I can roll on the inside, and I can just kind of have a little more control on it. Or I take the rolling pin to it and actually roll the rolling pin with it. Or you can just sit and watch TV and use a soup can or your tennis ball and just roll back and forth there too. And that works. So, especially if you have an isolated knot, those work really, really well. Or if you wanted to use the 2 tennis balls in the, oops, can't really see that very well, 2 tennis balls in the sock, and you can kind of get both partial.
I love that one.
Yeah, that can work as well. All right. Does that cover a good majority of the lower body for you, Scott? You pretty good with that?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Joe.
Excellent, you bet. Anything come to mind, Kim, as far as what?
Well, my favorite is that one against the wall with the foam roll horizontal and you do your back.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. That sounds great. So I'm going to show you what you can do if you wanted to do it on the floor a little bit. Not that exact same, but what you can do is you can actually sit on the end of the foam roll, and then knees bent when you lie down. So your head is on the top, your butt is on the bottom, and you can just have your arms out to the side and working on deep breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And that will help open you up left and right halves and really work on stretching your pec and your chest and your body from the inside out, making sure you're filling up the lungs really well. And then you put your arms wherever you feel comfortable. If you want them out to the side, down a little bit lower. If you want them out here, a little higher up. All depends on how your shoulders feel, how good they are. Right, Scott? Depends on, like you said, your shoulders. If this may not feel so good if your shoulder's up, your one shoulder's way high, so you may have to have it down in a modified position. That's totally fine. But when you find the position you like, you can then rock yourself side to side.
Okay.
And now you're working the muscles on either side of the spine, as well as you're gently mobilizing your spine itself, which can feel really good. Don't go too far, of course, so you fall off, but just back and forth just a little ways. Now, granted, you're only going to fall 6 inches, but still you don't want to fall. All right. Does that one make sense? All right. So the next one. What's that, Scott?
I said, yeah, that's the one that I've been using quite a bit.
I wondered if it was when you mentioned that, so I kind of wondered. Okay. So the next one, if you wanted to stretch out and work the pecs a little bit. So they're kind of like the hip flexors. You kind of do it on an angle, so you're almost going to take it and hug it like a pillow, but then you're going to lay down on it.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Now you have to be comfortable on your stomach, but then you're just going to basically lay down on it, and then you just kind of shimmy and roll from side to side.
I'm always looking for a good pec stretch.
Let's get it warmed up. This doesn't, it stretches a little bit, but this is actually just gonna really do a good job of starting to warm it up and facilitate it and everything else. And then if you're able to do this, then you go into the doorway or lay in the back like we just did. Then you'll notice a much different stretch because of that.
That feels good.
And you can do, I'll show you here in a second because I'll get you up on, I'm going to change the angle here and rotate you to my wall with my smiley face that my son put on there a few years ago. We asked him to paint over some of the holes and drywall, some of the stuff that he damaged when he was down here, and this is what he did. So, but as Kim talked about, we're going to do some work on the wall, but so you can do that same stretch or same foam roll up against the wall. If you don't want to do it on the ground, you can actually do this one on the wall, and you're just going to lean into it then. And you can just shift your weight side to side, and you just find your comfortable arm position wherever that may be. And you can put one foot in front of the other, whatever feels more comfortable to you, and just put what pressure is, like I said, more importantly, what's comfortable to you, what you feel good about. So you do that, and then if you can get into that doorway, and do some stretches here, 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 wherever your shoulder allows you to really stretch out that pec, because that pec, those pec muscles coming from here all the way up and out, they originate from all here. We have to multiple angles to stretch out all those different fibers. So it's important that we hit them all as much as we can and then stretch them at different angles as best we possibly can. All right. Any questions about that?
That's a good one.
Awesome. And then, as you alluded to, Kim, we can do that against the wall, just the opposite. Instead of going, you can do the vertical one on the wall too if you wanted to. If you don't want to do it laying down, you can do it vertically. And same thing, you're just kind of gently leaning into the wall. You have your feet about maybe 1.5 feet to 2 feet out from the wall, and you're gently leaning into the ball or into the wall, into the foam roll. And you can kind of do it this way. That's fine. But one that works really, really well is if we put the foam roller horizontal crossways and we start in your low back. So now you have your feet about 2 feet out away from the wall. So you're really leaning into it, and it's just above your waist. And what we're going to do is some mini squats. So you get a little bit of a leg workout, but it's definitely more for the back. We're still staying in a good upright position. We're not hunched over. And now you just do a little mini roll or mini squat. And I'm going to move this. Oh! Can you still guys see me?
Yeah.
Okay, I lost you here. There we go. Right. It's a touch screen. All right. So yeah, we're just doing a short distance, some mini squats. And now we're doing a little massage on the same muscles, just in a little different fashion. And we're also going across the spinous process, and you're mobilizing that spine just a little bit at the same time. You can do 10 of them down low, then you move it up to that next section. And you do 10 of them in that next section. And then you move it up to the next one. And then finally you do the top section. And you're stopping when it gets to the top of your shoulders. You don't want to go any higher than that. Because if you go any higher than that, the chances are sometimes the foam roll will want to squirt up, and then you fall backwards. Now the wall is there, but it still looks pretty awkward.
Oh, that feels so good.
So that's another great one to use for your back. It's for immobilization and soft tissue, so spinal mobilization and soft tissue work. All right. Any question about those? Because the last thing I'm going to kind of finish with is using those 2 tennis balls in a sock that you can do more on your neck. You can also do those on your chest if you want to, up against the wall, a little more specific. Sometimes a little more tender because it's more point specific, but you can do that on the ground or up against the wall with those 2 tennis balls there. It works really, really well. Like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down on the ground, and I'm going to put this on the side, either side of the spine, and start up right where the base of the neck and the skull meet.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just going to lay down and put some pressure on that. So hopefully you guys can see me here. Let's do this. There we go. So I'm going to put it at the base there. There you go. Can you see me now?
Uh-huh.
All right. So I like to just put my hands there just to kind of guide it, and so it doesn't go anywhere. You don't have to. And then you're just moving your head gently, small distance up and down. And then you can also just go side to side. And if you happen to feel like, wow, there's one special knot, it's just whoo-wee, you can just kind of stay on that one knot as long as it's not super painful, but you're like, wow, that's a lot of pressure, but it's not painful, I can tolerate it, it's okay. And you can just work on some deep breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, and just stay on that spot if you want to. Or go a smaller motion on that one spot to kind of isolate it if you do. But then you can just kind of work those tennis balls kind of down the spine. Then you do it the next spot. And you may have to start moving your whole body a little bit more versus just moving the head. That's okay too. And then you just kind of get it down. And you're just kind of shimmying up and down a little bit. And then you can kind of get it down almost in between the shoulder blades. All depends on how you feel. Once again, you can split yourself. Or what I like to do is you take it and you go vertical just off of the spine. So you can see myself here.
Yeah.
Not on the spine, but just off of the spine. And that's where one of my nemesis is at. That's where a large trigger point is for me, is right here on the right side. So I'll do this quite frequently. I'll lay down on the floor and just be in this position where I'll have that knot. The one tennis ball is right on it, and then other tennis ball is right below it, working on that other muscle to try to get it to relax as well. And I'll put my arm in different positions depending on the day, and just kind of move from side to side or just do some deep breathing. And by breathing, the lung expansion, the rib movement moves the ball or moves my body over the ball. All right. We have covered everything that I had planned. And I know hopefully we got most of what you guys want, but is there anything else? Any other questions? Any other areas you want to look at? We got a couple more minutes here we can go, and whatever, I'm here for your resource.
That was really good.
Yeah, very good. Very helpful.
All right. So just want to make sure that, we'll get this link to you guys. Either be tonight or tomorrow.
Okay.
Like I said, it'll have its own access code. Like I said, it's a community. All I ask is don't mess with it. Just keep the stuff there. Don't delete anything out of it. Don't try not to add anything funky to it, but just leave it as is. But it'll be a community one for anybody that comes in and does the workshop, because this will be videoed, and then it'll also we'll put it up on our website so people can view it on their own later if they want to, and stuff like that. So those individuals will also have access to this foam rolling, basically exercise protocol. I don't really call it program, foam rolling program and stuff. So it's there for your usage, and enjoy it. If you have questions, obviously let us know, and definitely just try to be consistent with it.
Great.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome, both of you. Have a great rest of the evening, and go enjoy some of the nice weather.
Will do.
All right. Bye, guys.
See you soon.